Hidden across North America are mysteries that refuse to be fully explained. Stories carved in stone, waiting to be understood. At Mesa Verde, entire communities once lived high within cliff walls, building complex dwellings that still stand today. But why were these advanced settlements suddenly abandoned? What forced an entire civilization to vanish, leaving behind only silent structures etched into rock? Thousands of miles away, another enigma rests along a riverbank. Dighton Rock, covered in mysterious carvings. This massive boulder has sparked centuries of debate. Were these symbols created by Native Americans, ancient explorers, or visitors from distant lands long forgotten? Two places, two puzzles. No clear answers. From ancient cliff cities to cryptic inscriptions, these sites challenge everything we think we know about history. And the deeper we look, the stranger the story becomes. Mesa Verde. Imagine walking along a high cliff, the wind blowing hard, the valley far below you, and suddenly you look across the rock face, and there they are. Entire homes carved into the cliffs. Windows, doors, walls, a whole community hidden inside stone. It feels unreal, like something built in secret. This is Mesa Verde, and the mystery is simple but powerful. Why did people build their homes in such dangerous places? And why did they suddenly leave them behind? Let's step back in time. Around 600 CE, people known as the Ancestral Puebloans began living in this region. At first, their lives were simple. They built small homes on the tops of mesas, flat lands above the valleys. They farmed, hunted, and lived like many early communities. Everything seemed normal, but over time, something changed. By around 1100-1200 CE, they started building inside cliffs, not just small shelters, but entire villages. The most famous one is Cliff Palace. It has over 150 rooms and more than 20 circular ceremonial spaces called kivas. It is carefully built, stone by stone, perfectly fitted into the natural shape of the cliff. Now think about the effort. They had to carry stones, water, tools, all the way up steep paths. No machines, no easy roads, just human strength and planning. So why choose such a difficult place? That's where the mystery begins. One idea is protection. Maybe they were facing danger, attacks from other groups. Living high in cliffs would make it harder for enemies to reach them. From above, they could see everything happening below. It makes sense. But there's a problem with this idea. If they were hiding from danger, why build so openly in the cliff walls where anyone could still see them from a distance? Another theory is climate. The cliffs provide natural shelter. In winter, they block cold winds. In summer, they give shade. It creates a more stable living environment. This explanation feels logical, but still, it doesn't fully explain why they moved all their communities into cliffs at the same time. Then there's the idea of water. Some believe that water sources became limited on the mesa tops, forcing people to move closer to areas where water could be collected more easily. But again, it's only part of the answer. Because building entire cities in cliffs is not just about survival, it's about choice. Now let's talk about how they lived. Inside these cliff dwellings, life was organized. Rooms were used for living, storage, cooking. Kivas were used for ceremonies and gatherings. These people had a strong sense of community. They were also skilled farmers. They grew corn, beans, and squash. They understood the land. They adapted to their environment. Artifacts show they were connected to other regions. Trade existed. Ideas moved. This was not an isolated group. Everything suggests a stable, functioning society, which makes what happens next even more confusing. Around the late 1200s, they left, not slowly over hundreds of years, but relatively quickly. Within a short period, the cliff dwellings were empty. No clear signs of war, no massive destruction, just silence. This is one of the biggest unsolved mysteries in North America. Why leave such well-built homes? One major theory is drought. Tree ring studies show that the region experienced a long, severe drought during that time. Crops would have failed. Food would have become scarce. That alone could force people to move. But here's the thing. People don't just leave everything behind so completely, unless the situation is serious, or unless there are multiple problems happening at once. Another idea is social tension. As resources became limited, conflicts may have increased. Communities that once worked together may have started to break apart. There's also evidence that life became harder over time. Less food, more stress, more pressure on the land. And then there's something deeper. Some researchers believe that the move into cliffs and then the sudden departure could be connected to changes in beliefs. Maybe something shifted in their culture. Maybe the place itself lost its meaning. Because when people leave a place like Mesa Verde, they are not just leaving houses. They are leaving history. They are leaving identity. Now let's come back to today. Mesa Verde still stands. The cliff dwellings are still there, almost frozen in time. You can see the rooms, the walls, the spaces where people once lived their daily lives. That's the positive side. It is one of the best preserved ancient sites in North America. It gives us a real look into how people lived hundreds of years ago. It is protected as a national park and respected as an important cultural site. But there are also negatives. The cliffs are fragile. Natural erosion slowly wears them down. Weather changes can damage the structures over time. Tourism brings attention, but also pressure. Too many visitors can affect the site if not carefully managed. And then there's the biggest negative of all. We still don't fully understand why they left. We have theories, we have clues, but no clear answer. Now, my opinion, I think Mesa Verde tells a story of adaptation and then a breaking point. These people were smart. They adjusted to their environment. They built in cliffs, not because they had no choice, but because they found a way to survive in changing conditions. But eventually, something became too much. Maybe it was drought. Maybe it was conflict. Maybe it was something we haven't even considered yet. And when that moment came, they didn't try to hold on. They moved. They chose to leave and start again somewhere else. And that decision is what keeps the mystery alive. Because they didn't disappear, their descendants still exist today among modern Pueblo communities. But the story of why they left Mesa Verde is still unfinished. And that's what makes it powerful. It's not just about ruins. It's about people making a decision we still don't fully understand. Standing there today, looking at those cliff homes, you don't just see buildings. You see a question. Why here? Why leave? And what really happened in those final years? Present situation, Mesa Verde today is a protected national park and a major historical site. It is well preserved and studied, attracting visitors from around the world. The structures remain strong and the cultural importance is recognized. However, natural erosion, climate conditions, and human impact continue to challenge its preservation. The mystery of its sudden abandonment still remains unsolved, making it one of the most fascinating ancient sites in North America. Dighton Rock. Imagine standing beside a river, the water moving slowly, the air quiet, and in front of you lies a massive rock covered in strange carvings. Lines, shapes, symbols. Some look like letters, some look like drawings, and some don't look like anything you recognize. You stare at it, trying to understand, but the more you look, the more confusing it becomes. This is Dighton Rock. And for over 300 years, people have been asking the same question. Who carved these symbols, and what do they mean? Let's go back. Dighton Rock sits near the Taunton River. It's not a small stone. It's large, heavy, and impossible to ignore. The surface is covered with markings that seem intentional, not random scratches, but carved shapes made by human hands. The first recorded attention came in the 1600s, when European settlers noticed it. Even back then, they were confused. These carvings didn't match anything they understood, and that confusion has never really gone away. Now, here's where things get interesting. Over time, different people came up with different ideas about who made these carvings. Some believed Native Americans created them. That would make sense, since indigenous people lived in this region for thousands of years and were known for rock art. But others didn't agree. Some claimed the carvings looked like ancient European writing. There were theories that Vikings reached this area long before Columbus and left their mark here. Others said it could be Portuguese explorers. Some even suggested Phoenicians, an ancient civilization from the Middle East. Yes, the theories went that far. But here's the problem. None of these ideas have been proven, and none of them fully explain the carvings. When you look closely at Dighton Rock, you don't see clear words. You don't see full sentences. You see shapes that look like parts of different systems, but not complete enough to confirm anything. It's like a message, but one that's broken, or maybe one we were never meant to fully understand. Now let's talk about the carvings themselves. Some of them look like human figures, others look like animals. There are lines that cross over each other, circles, and shapes that look almost like symbols or letters. But there's no clear pattern, and that's what makes it so frustrating. Because if there was even one clear word, one clear symbol, we could connect it to a culture, but we don't have that. And over time, things got even more complicated. The rock has been exposed to water, weather, and human contact for centuries. Parts of the carvings have worn down. Some details are no longer clear. So even if there was once a clearer message, it may be lost now. Think about that. The answer might have been right there, and time slowly erased it. Now, let's explore the main theories. The most accepted idea today is that Native Americans created the carvings. Many experts believe the symbols could be part of indigenous storytelling or spiritual expression. This makes sense. Indigenous cultures often used symbols rather than written language like modern alphabets. Their carvings were not always meant to be read in the way we read books today. They were meant to represent ideas, stories, or beliefs. But even with this explanation, we still don't know the exact meaning, and that keeps the mystery alive. Another theory is that different people added to the rock over time. Maybe it didn't come from just one group. Maybe different cultures, at different times, carved their own symbols onto the same surface. If that's true, it would explain why the markings look mixed and unclear. But again, there is no solid proof. Now, let's talk about something important. Human imagination. Over the years, many people have tried to see something in the carvings. Some believe they saw maps. Others believe they saw names. Some even claim they could read entire messages. But here's the reality. When something is unclear, the human mind tries to fill in the gaps. We see patterns even when they may not exist, and that has made Dighton Rock even more mysterious. Because every generation looks at it differently. And every generation comes up with new ideas. Now let's come to the present. Today, Dighton Rock is protected. It is kept inside a museum-like structure to prevent further damage. People can visit, look at it closely, and try to understand it for themselves. That's the positive side. It is preserved, it is studied. It continues to attract interest from historians, researchers, and visitors. But there are also negatives. The carvings are worn. Time has already taken part of the story away. Some details are lost forever. And because of that, finding a clear answer becomes even harder. Also, the mystery itself can lead to confusion. Too many theories, too many guesses. It becomes difficult to separate fact from imagination. And yet, that's also what makes it fascinating. Now, my opinion, I think Dighton Rock is not meant to be fully solved. Not in the way we want. We are used to clear answers. We want translation. We want meaning that fits into our understanding. But maybe this rock was never meant to be read like that. Maybe it was a form of expression, something spiritual, something symbolic, something deeply connected to the people who created it. And maybe trying to force it into a clear explanation takes away from its true purpose. Because sometimes, mystery is the message. Dighton Rock reminds us that not everything from the past fits into modern logic, and that's okay. It's a piece of history that speaks, but in a language we don't fully understand anymore. And that silence between the symbols, that unknown space, is where the real mystery lives. Present situation. Dighton Rock today is preserved inside a protective structure in Massachusetts. It is safe from further environmental damage and remains an important historical artifact. Visitors can still see the carvings, though many are faded due to age and weathering. The site is well maintained, but the original meaning of the symbols is still unknown. The mystery continues, making it one of the most debated ancient artifacts in North America.